Good evening, everybody. And tonight is going to be an epic matchup for your Rocket League. It's the Big Ten Conference, the Big Conference,
Big
Esports
esports.
Conference, the Big Esports Conference. Sorry about that. And it is going to be from two absolute powerhouses of teams, the Ohio State Buckeyes against the Purdue Boilermakers. Now, both teams being 3-0 so far. However, the Ohio State Buckeyes having that round record of 9-2 against the Boilermakers having 9-4. The Buckeyes, I believe, just coming off of those two round losses last night against Minnesota. So, or last week, sorry, very fresh in their mind. However, will they be able to kind of restart that 3-0 sweep that we've seen in the previous weeks? Here are the power rankings. A lot of great teams across the board. And we see Rutgers right now is estimated at number one. But tonight we are seeing that number two and number three teams coming at you. Now, Ohio State is currently ranked number one on the leaderboards, but Purdue is also number four. So there's that wide space there despite the power rankings. However, the record's still very solid, still kind of early in the season too. So it's really hard to kind of say who I think might come who might carry the entire league, their championship, win the championship. It's feels like a Monday. It's Halloween too, so that's always a great way to celebrate. And we'll kick it off with our starting lineup. Ohio State Esports having a very awesome lineup. Gaines Lissom and Dizan. I don't know how to pronounce those. It's always interesting. I got Gaines right. I'm confident in that one. Now the Boilermakers having Enchanted, Ryan, and Plain. I do like that. Plain is a pretty plain name, but I'd like to estimate that we're not going to be seeing much plain behavior from them. I think it's going to be a very, very dominant matchup against both of these teams. We're going to see a lot of action here in Rocket League, a lot of really good shots, a lot of amazing strategies, a lot of teamwork that I love Rocket League. You know, it is always a great game to watch. It might look very simple to play, but or to watch, but when you're actually in the actual, when you're in the chair using your controller or mouse and keyboard trying to control it, it is far more difficult than you think. However, my co-host joining me tonight is of course the coach Palmer, who is going to be um, kind of a the expert here when it comes to any sort of soccer. You did coach soccer for a few years, correct?
Yeah, I coached women's soccer down in Texas before I dove headfirst full time into the esports scene. So, yeah, no, car soccer is just another great extension of it.
Oh, definitely. Now, is there a lot of strategy overlap? I mean, yeah, it's car soccer when you put in those basic terms, but like regarding actual strategy, do you see a lot of the same, matchups or not the same skills kind of going into it, or is it kind of different for the most part?
You see a lot of passing plays and all kinds of different things. A lot of teamwork that's got to go into it.
Oh, definitely. And here we are right off the bat. The teams are just getting started. Ohio State really pushing the ball right onto the Boilermakers' front yard. However, the Boilermakers really making sure to kind of get it out of that goal, but it was almost there. Ohio State almost starting off with a beautiful shot into the goal there. It is back and forth already, trying to hit it towards the goal once again. The Ohio State really working on that. And as I say that, as I just try and get my footing there, Ohio State is making sure to start the game off in a very, very good manner. It looked like Desan passing it to Lissom making sure to follow up and get that into the goal. What a beautiful play there. And
Yeah,
only 26 seconds off the clock.
yeah, a quick little 1-2 pass can make all the difference to break down the defense, and solid shot put on net and puts Ohio State up early.
Definitely. Now, Boilermakers are making sure to kind of regain that footing, making sure to have the Buckeyes kind of work for it and make sure that they're on top of their game. However, it being on the Boilermakers side, it is just going to be a lot of defense coming out from them. You have to be watching out for some of these last second goals. And right there, almost another goal for the Buckeyes, but we saw Purdue making sure to play that defense. As I say that, Caster's curse once again gains leading up following up with some of that pressure that was put onto the Boilermakers and solidifying that extra point. 2 goals on the board already for the Buckeyes, and it's just 60 seconds in. It is going to be a very, very good lead for them. We do see a nice demo there onto Ryan on the Boilermakers. The Buckeyes able to add in extra pressure to the Boilermakers. However, the Boilermakers making sure finally for some of the first moments of this round, getting it to the other side of the court onto the Buckeyes goal. However, they needed to play a little bit more defense there, I think, until it was kind of stopped there and knocked into the other side of the court, and it is just back and forth. It's like a tennis match here. That being said, the we saw the Boilermakers pushing it right in front of that goal of the Buckeyes, but it wasn't enough to get that shot. Just barely, uh, barely at that entrance. Almost
Yeah.
getting it in though. It was pretty nice to see.
Yeah, Ohio State's was doing a good job of making sure Purdue could not get any boost, and could not get out of their own end. But now it seems that Purdue's kind of found their rotations and found some boost pads that they're being able to put shots on net. And there it is, a shot in, and Enchanted scores and puts Purdue on the board.
Great shot there from Enchanted, but definitely assisted there by Plane. We can see. Sorry, it wasn't assisted by Plane. Plane just had a beautiful view of it. It was Enchanted and Ryan there, making sure to get that point up there. And I think this game is going to be a lot closer than we might have originally thought. And it's not even halfway through this round. And, I think the Boilermakers now kind of turning the tide, gaining that footing, making sure to put that pressure onto the Buckeyes, making sure, hey, you're going to need to work for this. It's not going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah, last week I had the pleasure of watching Ohio State versus Minnesota, and one of their things is just relentless pressure on their opposing team's net. And there's no such thing as a bad shot when you're taking unlimited amount. And there's another one. Gaines is able to find the back of the net and put Ohio State up 3-1.
What a beautiful play. Now, when if you're on the Buckeyes right now, you're seeing that score and you're kind of confident. You got that 2-1 lead or that 3-1 lead up by 2. It's going to be allowing you to kind of get a lot of motivation there, but you're going to play a lot more defensively, hopefully. And almost as I say that, getting another goal there. But at this point, I mean, the Buckeyes could just double down on that defense, making sure, hey, I'm just not going to let any more goals happen by the Boilermakers, and you're going to walk around with this round in the bag. Now, we are seeing a lot of pressure still being put onto the Boilermakers, though. Ohio State definitely not letting it kind of not letting the momentum stop them, and it's really kind of impressive. I mean, they're it's almost I don't even know how to describe it. It's impressive to see these shots, but that you can see they're they're taking their time, but also making sure to get some really good shots near that goal. Not necessarily in them, but applying that pressure enough for the Boilermakers to kind of sit down and say, I need to be watching out. I need to be blocking these shots. I need to be playing defense when I might, I maybe should be playing some offense and trying to get the ball to the other side instead of away from my goal.
Yeah, Purdue's having a hard time. They're trying to clear the ball, but there's nobody upfield for to take the ball away, and Ohio State's just taking every single 50-50 ball and sending it back into the Purdue half. 2-goal lead, like you said, is a great lead, but it is the worst lead in and I always said as a coach, it's the worst lead in soccer, because if they get one, they're right back in it, and they're going to come with a lot of force.
Oh, definitely. Now it's definitely, as you said, the positioning from the Boilermakers is just it's all defense right now, and you need somebody to be down that field to make sure that if I sitting in front of the goal shoot it halfway across the court, somebody's got to be there to kind of keep the ball moving, and it won't be another one of the Buckeyes who can just hit it back towards us. And as I say that, we do see the ball now is going to be it was near the Buckeyes court, but quickly moved back towards the Boilermakers. I got to say, Ohio State is making quick work of some of these rotations, making sure, hey, I'm playing defense here, but in a mere 5 seconds, it's going to be the tides are going to be turned, and I got to be going back trying to shoot into the goal. And round one finishing off Beautiful play from Ohio State there, and it is best of 5 tonight, but we could see Ohio State walk away with another 3-0. It is still too early to tell, but looking at the scoreboard, we can see that gains from the Ohio State Buckeyes having that 2-goal stat, and Lissom having 1 goal. However, you do see Desan there making sure to definitely he has 50 they have 57 ball touches, definitely making sure to be moving that ball. It's not about scoring the goal in that role. It's all about making sure that my players, my teammates can get access to it and making sure that it's going places. It's not just kind of standing there sitting in front of our goal and
Yeah.
causing us issues.
Yeah, shots are definitely one-sided, and I think we'll probably see a different Purdue coming out into this second round. Maybe we saw it before back in the day with Carthage that sometimes that first game is the wake-up game, and once things start rolling, that's when you start to see teams perform.
Oh yeah, I think Ohio State was confident there and it showed, and definitely made sure to play smart. But having that 1 goal from the Boilermakers, might have been a bit of a wake up call. Like, oh, this is definitely something we're gonna have to watch out for. It's not going to be as easy as we expected. And as I say that, the Buckeyes making a near repeat of last match, immediately getting the ball onto the Boilermakers side and going to be causing a lot of pressure. But we do see a different performance here from the Boilermakers, making sure to turn the tides, almost getting a goal there. Will it be a goal? They are very, very close to, but it looks like the Boilermakers kind of out of that boost, making sure to kind of rotate around. Hey, I can't get the goal, but I'm going to make sure that they're going to be hitting the ball towards me instead of towards one of their teammates. And that was a very, very smart play. I'm noticing a different sort of behavior already from the Boilermakers, just really doubling down on that positioning, making sure that it's not 2 people on the ball at one time. They're kind of spread out, making sure it's as if they have string attached to each other, and making sure that they're at a certain distance, making sure that they never kind of cross those strings. It is the ideal positioning, I think, when it comes to this game.
Yeah. Purdue is definitely looking like a better team. The rotations are better. Their boost management's better. They're actually playing in the air this round, which is a lot more than they did in the first round. So it's nice touch, and it's definitely an even matchup up to this point.
Definitely. This is, I mean, it's showing that these are 2 absolute powerhouses in Rocket League, and is going to be, I mean, I can say all I want as a commentator, but it is definitely a difficult time for both teams, making sure that they are on top of their game, especially when they're both, undefeated so far. But tonight it is going to be one of these teams being defeated officially and no longer being able to say that they're undefeated, unfortunately. I don't know. I mean, we're 2 minutes in and not a single goal has been scored just yet. It is quite different. I think at this point they've kind of maybe slightly figured out the strategy of the other team, knowing how to counter it and how to perfect their own play style. But I'm noticing some more, as we see here, Desant with a beautiful air dribble and near the Boilermakers goal, but just flying to the top right of it and not able to go in. We're seeing a lot of pressure being put back onto the Buckeyes goal, and this might be the opening that the Boilermakers need. But alas, as I say that, one of the Buckeyes wasn't quite sure who did that, but it swooped in and knocked it through an opening, making sure to return that pressure back to sender.
Yeah, both teams are really playing tactically smart, balanced. Nobody wants to give up that first goal and lose any momentum. And like you said, these are Big Ten schools playing against each other in the Big Esports Conference, and nobody wants to lose. The Big Ten is pretty competitive amongst the schools, and each school here is looking to claim that #1 title.
Oh, for sure. Especially Ohio State, with the phenomenal sports program. But I'm pretty partial to UW-Madison, big Ten school in my home state. I got to support them, especially if Ohio State kind of beat them the other day, the other night. I'm a little sad about that. However, I got to say, based on how the Buckeyes are performing right now, it is definitely impressing me here. I can really say how they make it look beautiful almost. It's like a ballet. And that's a lot of these high-level Rocket League players. It's as if they're dancing ballet. It's just beautiful with the air dribbling. It's all graceful, despite it being rockets on cars, which one would think would be the opposite of gracefulness. But 60 seconds remaining in round number 2, and not a single goal has been scored. So you can tell, as I said earlier, both of these teams really got a feel for the other team, making sure they know I need to be positioned here. And as I say that, the Boilermakers proving me a little bit wrong there and getting the first goal of the round. First goal that could honestly be this last one of this round. Hard to say at this point.
Yep.
45 seconds left. Ohio State really needs to make a move here.
Yeah, and Enchanted really kind of shifted game there in those last 20 seconds, and instead of trying to go for every ball, just was playing for the rebounds. And there we see it again, doing the exact same thing, looking for the rebounds instead of just going for the 50-50s, and is able to capitalize. Purdue up 2-0.
Exactly. That was a beautiful play from Purdue there. And you got to read those. You got to make sure that you are playing smart. And you see those openings, you got to take them. And that is exactly what Enchanted did. And now 2-0 right now for the Boilermakers. 30 seconds left. Buckeyes are probably scrambling. I don't know if they've quite given up right now. Some teams will kind of use these last 30 seconds or so and just really say, all right, I can't win this. I'm going to talk strategy for this next round. Get that extra time. And I mean, we do see the Buckeyes are playing a little bit slower, and that might be what they're doing. I think it is going to be a very different round number 3, though, as we tie off this round number 2, making it 1-1 in the series. Purdue taking that round quite beautifully, I got to say.
Yeah, Purdue, like I said, really came out the gate with a different strategy, and played a lot more aggressively. They managed their boost better. They actually passed the ball, and the key there to success in the end was they looked for rebounds, and they saw the rebounds off the backboard, and instead of just trying to go for the other car or for the 50-50 ball, they were able to just, use their hitbox, put it in the back of the net, tie up this series 1-1. I think we're going to see a very interesting round 3.
Oh, definitely. I think I don't know. I mean, it's too. I'd like to say it's too early to tell, and at this point, even then, I don't know who might have the upper hand. We saw round number 1, Ohio State just coming out of starting off the night in a very dominant fashion, but then the Boilermakers round number 2 really showing some of the strategy, making sure to play it slow and smart, and they could carry over here, but we could see the Buckeyes kind of countering that and making sure to make them regret playing, well, require them to play a little bit, even a little smarter than what we saw before. We do see both teams kind of evening it out here. Nobody having the pressure put onto their goal, kind of keeping the middle. However, as I say that, the Boilermakers playing specifically, seeing that opening, taking that shot from the pass from Enchanted, hitting the rebound. Oh, what a beautiful play there by the Boilermakers. But the Buckeyes were not, there was nobody in goal there. I saw they needed somebody to be positioned there, playing that kind of defense, making sure if a ball goes near the goal, I can protect it.
Yeah, I think Buckeyes were caught over-rotating for boost to try and get back and defend, but quick and easy read for Purdue to look for that cross ball to shoot on the wide-open back end.
Definitely. Now, I think right now, one of the big things you got to watch out for if you were Ohio State is kind of that mentality. A lot of this game is that mental side. You got to make sure, hey, I haven't scored a goal in however long. That last round especially, I need to get it back into that flow, back into that rhythm. I need to be getting that momentum, that motivation, and it's very scary here. We just saw Purdue almost score yet another goal, so I'd like to say that Purdue has figured out the weakness for the Buckeyes here. It could be accidental. There are times where I'm accidentally playing very well and I don't know what's working and what isn't. But I think that's not what you're going to see at this upper level, at this high level of play. You're going to be seeing hey, I know exactly what they're doing. Here's their positioning, and here's how we counter it. That's probably what they discussed in between these rounds. And the Boilermakers maybe just having the key to it all. And still, too early to tell how well this momentum is going to be keeping up here. But I mean, we're seeing just a slower play from the Boilermakers, I think. It's a lot more methodical. They're making sure I'm not going to be going too far up. Right here, we can see exactly. They're not rushing the ball. They're all kind of spacing out, so they all have sight of the ball. Because the ball is not really going near any of the goals, they have this wire of, okay, if the ball's going to go here, it's going to be much quicker if I go here.
Yeah,
between the moment now and the moment it actually lands there.
Yeah, I mean, just like in any game or sport, the team that controls possession and controls the pace of the game will likely be the team that can be victorious. And Purdue's doing a really good job of just controlling the pace, controlling the boost, the rotations. Ohio State is playing in Purdue's arena, and they've got to figure out a way out of it. The mentality part that you talked about is huge. Esports is a very, very mental heavy sport, and if Ohio State checks out, Purdue is going to take advantage of it.
Definitely. And I think we're seeing it's very clear that from the Boilermakers, they're playing slow. Like originally they're playing smart, but now they're just playing slow in the sense of they're leading the rhythm of the game. They're leading the pace of the game because they're up by a point. So technically, it's theirs to lose. If they just make sure the ball is going nowhere near any of the Buckeyes, nowhere near that goal, it's going to be very slow, and they're just going to keep this lead up for the next minute and a half. However, if the Buckeyes do score, it's tied and they might go into sudden death. Or overtime. So it depends. There's two different paths here to go. And we saw the goal or the ball being right in front of that Buckeyes goal. None of the Boilermakers swooping in to get it though, playing smart like I've been saying, making sure to not play overly aggressive because that could be it. The game could completely turn in a split second, and suddenly Purdue needs to score another goal, or Purdue's losing. And the Buckeyes, just needing to get that momentum. They're not okay. As I say that, they got that goal. They got what could be that momentum that they needed. They finally ended that drought of points. Desan with a very beautiful shot there, and a great animation to join it. But 1-1 with 56 seconds left, we're going to be seeing a lot faster pace here from both teams. Boilermakers winning that kickoff, but Ohio State making sure to immediately turn the tide. And here we go. Here's that momentum. Ohio State probably now fired up, motivated, saying, hey, I just got a goal in 6 seconds. That's awesome. Let's do it again. And they could walk away with this round number 3 victory. 50 seconds is a lot of time, and we've seen comebacks happen.
Yep. Ohio State, I think, is realizing they can still control the air. They definitely have better aerials, air dribbles than Purdue is able to handle, and they're trying to capitalize on that and wear down Purdue's defenses. And both of those goals are direct reflections of that. So this will be an interesting last 30 seconds.
Definitely a very intense 30 seconds here too. The Boilermakers the Boilermakers technically have to score 2 points to win this round, and that is a lot easier said than done. But as I say that, they're going to score 1 point, because every time in my casting career, every time I mention something like that, somebody's going to score. They're always going to prove me wrong, but 20 seconds left on the clock, 2-2. It is going to be all out war here, making sure, hey, I'm not going into overtime. I'm not risking that. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to score this goal and walk around with this round. Because I would consider this next goal is going to be the one who wins the round. I mean, obviously. But.
I think we need to get you casting some U.S. soccer matches and do the same kind of caster's curse every time we're on the defensive third. Maybe that'll help the U.S. soccer team win some games.
I'm down. I'd love to do that. I would love to do that. I would make so many fun. I'd have fun with it, especially since I know I'm learning more and more soccer as the weeks go on, because I'm watching a certain series about professional soccer. But yeah, I'd love to do that.
There we go. Ohio State off the kickoff, 6 seconds into overtime, finds the back of the net, puts them up 2-1 in the series. What do you think was the key there off that kickoff?
I'll be honest, I was thinking about me commentating soccer, so I didn't see much of that overtime, but I think it might have been the aggression. I mean, I think that's something that Ohio State really showed in the first round, and that might be the weakness to the Boilermakers is that just aggression. If you are coming at them really, really aggressively, making sure I'm going to be, right there, risking demos, risking the ball, just keep peppering those shots onto the goal. That might be it. That might be the aggression you need that kind of throws off the Boilermakers ballet and it becomes more aggressive style of dance that I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd say a tango, but that's not that aggressive.
the shots are definitely pretty pretty even. But one thing to note is Ohio State is getting shots from all their players. Where on the Purdue side, it seems only Ryan is putting shots on goal. And getting opportunities for the Boilermakers. So I'd look in this game 4 for the teams to maybe distribute who's getting shots a little bit more. But also, I expect demos to go up. I think it's been a pretty quiet game up to this point, and I expect those to kick in a lot more.
Oh, I agree. I mean, there are those two strategies. I mean, you have the goal spread kind of being even, or you have one person who's really good at goals and the rest of them really good at passing the ball to them. That one is high risk, high reward, I'd like to say. Whereas if you have everybody kind of being confident and really able to score goals, you kind of throw off the other team from, hey, I can't just defend one person. I got to defend everybody. We could be seeing one of those strategies really pay off here. And I'm noticing as we go into this game number 4, the pace has definitely taken off. It's really sped up here. And we're seeing players, the aerials, like you were saying, aerials are definitely more abundant. The control in the air is really important because that is a lot more unpredictable. It's a lot less predictable. It's harder to kind of predict where somebody's going to guide the ball as opposed to when the ball's on its own and flying through the air. What do you think? What do you think the strategy is here from the Boilermakers?
Yeah, well, I mean, right now it's win or lose. So if they can't find the back of the net, Ohio State's going to take this series 3-1, and that's not what Purdue did, or not what Purdue had in the game plan for tonight. So they're picking up the pace. They're going at Ohio State at a much quicker pace, and they're also meeting them in the air. They're not letting the Buckeyes get away with the easy air dribbles anymore, and Ohio State's having a little bit of a difficulty adjusting to that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're seeing some really good positioning from the Boilermakers. They're all making sure to gain that space, really making sure to kind of get that even spread across the court. Whereas we do see the Buckeyes are kind of struggling with that. They're having, 2 people on the ball at one time, which sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And right now, you can't afford to do it when it's bad. And you're seeing, like right there, you saw 2 of the Buckeyes. Yeah, it's more of the defensive play, but you just had 2 people hit the ball nearly at the same time. A good 50-50 there. You got to have somebody to pass it to. And if there's nobody to pass it to, chances are one of the Boilermakers is going to be there. And that is exactly what's happening. They're kind of just scrambling across the court. And you just can't let that happen. But 2 minutes 40 on the clock, and nobody's scored yet. So I say all I want, but technically neither of these strategies are working, or both of them are working.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're seeing really good boost management on both sides. It's pretty conservative play. Ohio State's actually trying to make some plays. We've seen some drop shots from the ceiling down for a quick 1-2 pass and for a goal. But Purdue is defending really well. But right now they're struggling to get out of their own defensive third. So Ohio State bringing the pressure. We'll see if Purdue can answer and get out.
I agree. I mean, you have those goals, and we just saw the Boilermakers having some really, I didn't quite see which player it was in goal, making sure to stop a really nice shot from the Buckeyes, but it's all about that pressure. And we're not seeing any demos here. Demos are crucial to relieving pressure or allowing you to apply even more pressure to the other team, and we're just not seeing that from either team. And I think that could be the solution to a lot of their problems. That being said, if you can't, even hit somebody, if you can't hit somebody's car, you're not going to get any demos. And we're seeing them, really get spaced away from other people. But we just saw two, and I'm so glad I caught that. Two of the Boilermakers in the way for that goal. Now, one hand you could defend it saying, hey, you needed all the defense onto that goal as you could. However, they played the exact same angle, exact same momentum, exact same everything, and it allowed an opening to be opened for the Buckeyes to get that goal. And it is very scary for them right now as Ohio State is on match point with just over 60 seconds on the clock. Boilermakers have to pull out a trick from their magic bag of tricks to get another goal.
Yeah, that's impressive on Gaines to be able to get that ball through two cars. Like you said, though, defending the same angle, that double commit can make or break any Rocket League team. We've seen it on the amateur side, the college side, and even up to the pros on the world stage, where a double commit can make or break a team. And Ryan is able to answer for Purdue, tie it up 1-1, and here in Game 4, breath of fresh air for the Boilermakers, and a slight double commit there on the defense for Ohio State to kind of even things out.
Yeah, that was a great read, though. Great read on the play, making sure, hey, I'm not going to go up to the goal. I'm going to be sitting here, because then if the ball goes my way, I can rebound it in for a nice goal. And that was exactly what happened. It was beautiful to watch, and I'm glad that they are back on the board. 1-1, though, 20 seconds on the clock. The Boilermakers really have to tie it up, really have to score here, because they cannot afford to lose. It is match point for Ohio State, and if they lose, they are no longer undefeated for the season, and the Buckeyes are able to grab it. However, the Buckeyes will have another chance if it does go in. That was heartbreaking to see. As I was saying that, the great shot onto the top of the board and rebounded by one of the other Ohio State. I think I wasn't quite sure. It might have been Gaines. 5 seconds left on the clock. Boilermakers have to pull out a beautiful play here, and Buckeyes hitting it towards the goal. It is going to be a quiet night in the locker room for Purdue here, unless, because the game's not over until it's over. A heartbreaking defeat by the Boilermakers, but definitely making sure that Ohio State did not walk away with ease. It was a beautiful match from both of these powerhouse schools. And looking at the scoreboard, a lot more shots on goal from Gaines. And unfortunately, Boilermakers not having many shots compared. I mean, yeah, it's about even. You have, Desan and Lasome having 1 and 2, and then cross the Boilermakers 2 and 1. It's Gaines definitely stepped up here, and it gained the upper hand for Ohio State.
Yeah,
I'm proud of that one.
great series. Yeah, you and your puns. Um, a great series played by both teams. That was just a really unfortunate mistake there in the end for Purdue to clear in their own defensive third into the middle. And Ohio State, I mean, they're at the number one spot for a reason. They see those quick and easy mistakes and capitalize by putting the ball in the back of the net. And Ohio State improves to 4-0. Purdue drops to 3-1, and this spices up the season for sure.
And that is why they call it the Big Esports Conference, because it is exciting till the end. It could have been much longer. I think Boilermakers just barely lost that round. It was heartbreaking, but I think they have a lot of footage, and they'll be able to see kind of where they needed to improve, why some of these goals happened. And same for the Buckeyes. I don't think they played perfectly. There were a few moments where they're double committing, or they were just out of position, and they have stuff to work on. Now they can kind of leave this game a little motivated and really happy and proud. But at the end of the day, the season's not over. Winning this round will not win you the season. There's going to be quite a long ways ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, the Big Esports Conference is a 15-week long season. So this is only week 4. A lot more Rocket League left to be played, and a lot of things can happen. There's been some teams that were in other game titles that were favored to do really well, and With a long season like this, you run into things kind of like you see in the NFL where injuries or sickness can plague someone and your starter has to sit out. And, if a starter can't play, your team might be on upset alert. And we've already seen that happen in a few different other game titles. So Ohio State is far from safe at the number one spot. And just like in any game title, when you sit atop the throne, everybody is coming for the crown.
And you have way further to fall, especially upsets happen all the time, especially at the end, especially during playoffs and towards those final moments. You could be undefeated the entire season and then lose to a last seed team. Upsets happen. You have to keep that momentum up. You cannot let your guard down. Um, Overall, though, a beautiful performance from both of these teams. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of success from them in all these different ways as the season progresses. But to the viewers at home, thank you so much for joining us tonight as we saw the battle of the undefeated teams. I've been the Bearded Man. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great night.